Wait,
Okay, well, I can pause it.
Good morning and welcome to A Better Word with Julann and Fran. I'm Julann.
And I am Fran. And today we have a very special guest, Mary Lee LaBay, who is the author of 6 books. She's a teacher of hypnotherapy, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and past life regression. She's on the West Coast and she's been in practice for 30 years. Mary Lee, welcome.
Welcome.
much. It's lovely to be here with both of you ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do to make the world a better place?
Well, it really warms my heart to work with individuals. So I have a private practice where I help people become empowered and transform their lives and make their dreams come true. So, everything from moving them from stress or procrastination or distress, dysfunctional family or relationships, all the way through to wholeness, wellness, and then also plotting for the future. What is this going to look like moving forward? And of course, I blend all of those different techniques together. So, yeah, that's, I guess, what motivates me. And then, of course, I teach students. And so the work that I do has been so successful in helping people that I now teach other people how to do those same techniques, and so that the benefits are being spread farther than I could do individually.
Well, that's excellent. What led you to do what it is that you're doing?
I started out more in a spiritual track. I had a metaphysical bookstore. I studied ever since I was actually at 16. I started studying tarot and astrology. I've been an astrologer throughout these years, 50, almost 50 years now. So it was really more of a personal development that led me into my path. And then as I was experiencing past life regression for myself and doing my work, other people started asking me to do past life regressions for them. And so I was doing that, and then started a little side business. Along with my store, I was able to also help people discover their past lives. And so then I, decided to study hypnotherapy. And so I got a certificate as a clinical hypnotherapist. And when I understood, the breadth and the benefits of those techniques, I married them together in a very unique product or offering, where we can not only go into past lives as who was I in a past life, what, kind of a sightseeing tour. Now we can go in and we can actually correct things, like we can heal traumas in those past lives. We can gather information about a person's purpose in, like their soul purpose. We can discover soulmates and soul families, and just do such a broader, deeper process than just a sightseeing tour for past lives. So it just got me super excited. And, then I launched my career doing that with the hypnotherapy and past lives. And it's brought me to here today.
Nice. That's so interesting. You had said that you people noticed and they started to ask you about it. Do you feel it was like a change in your attitude, or you had I don't know, what was it, speaking about it to people that got them interested, or just a change in you?
Well, in the beginning, so I had, for a decade, I had wanted to experience a past life. And so when I finally was able to do that, I found somebody who could guide me successfully through the process. I was so excited that everybody I would talk to, it was like, oh my God, I just discovered this.
That's so exciting,
So
right?
cool, you've got to try it. And I realized rather quickly that not everybody was as excited as I was. You know, some people were like, you know, this is too weird, this is crazy. And so I started to tone it down a little bit, but I was still excited. And I remain excited. It's just, it's powerful work. But because well, shortly after that is when I opened my metaphysical bookstore, which I only kept it open for a few years. For a lot of reasons. um, but um, but when I was there and I had that, then people were coming into the store to discover these things. You know, they were looking for personal development, spiritual development. And then, of course, past lives was of interest to those people. And so then I was able to talk to them about it. But that was in Ohio. And then I moved to the Seattle area. And people out here are just, I think, you know, more receptive to the ideas
Right.
of all of this. I was in a smaller town in Ohio, and yeah, it was a little more conservative that way.
Can you tell us a little about your 6 books?
Oh my goodness, yes. um, I wrote my first book. I wrote 2 in partnership with another man. We on past life, or no, I'm sorry, that was on hypnotherapy and relationships. Oh, it was actually self-hypnosis and relationships. And then I started writing books on my own. So the subsequent 4. The first one I wrote on my own was in 2004, and it was called Hypnotherapy, a Client-Centered Approach. And it really was a textbook for the hypnotherapy techniques that I had been gathering over, you know, by then maybe 5 years, 6. Actually, by then I had been in practice 7 years. And so I was offering those techniques in a really concise way. And it was used for 20 years as a textbook in courses in a lot of English-speaking countries. And so,
Excellent.
you know, so I had that. That's basically out of publication right now. And then I wrote this book, Past Life Regression, and that's a guide for practitioners. So this was really outlining how to do past lives and theories behind it, and you know how to successfully do that. Then I thought, well, that's for practitioners. And because I spoke to so many people in the public, I didn't really have an offering for them. So I wrote this book, Exploring Past Lives, which is for the general public. And this one explains it all. But instead of terms of this is how you're going to handle your clients and this is how you're going to run your business, this is really, you know, about how to experience it, how to get the most out of it, how to understand past lives really thoroughly. Then in 2023, well, early 24, some of the teachers who had been using my textbook started calling me and they said, your book is out of print and we need something for our classes. Can you republish that book? And by then I had had an additional 20 years of practice, and I had learned so much and so many more case studies and ways to really finesse the work. So this one I published, when did I publish it? Last year in 2024, I published this one, and I love this book, Mastering Hypnotherapy. This, you know, I'm just super proud of this book.
You should be.
Yeah, again, it really, and I teach a full certification course in hypnotherapy, NLP, and past life regression. And this book, excuse me, this book really covers the hypnotherapy portion of that. So all of the techniques are laid out very carefully. And again, it's being used as a textbook. So
It's so exciting.
it is exciting. Yeah.
And I'm sure when you're helping a client, it must be so rewarding to help them get through some trauma or something that is keeping them stuck, right? So how exciting is that? You should be proud.
Thank you. Yes, every client that comes in, needs help with something, right? Or they wouldn't be in my
Right.
office. And so to have all of these techniques available and just readily applicable to them, it's very easy to get really good results very quickly too.
I have just one more question. At the beginning, when you first started doing past life regressions, I find that so interesting. Do you find it's changed so much because your knowledge has grown, your travels or your experiences, or is it pretty much, you know, based on the person and how receptive they are and what they're able to, you know, accept, let's
Well,
say?
all of those, yes. So it has evolved somewhat. So when I first started experiencing past lives, it really was the sightseeing tour, right? You go in, who was I? Where did I live? What era was it? Did I get married? Did I have children? What was my occupation? All those normal things. And so then when I married the hypnotherapy with the past life and the NLP tools and all the knowledge that I have, the technique of past life regression evolved, right? So now we can go in, and when that person has had trauma that is affecting them now, we can soften it in the past life, and then it changes how the people feel here. So for instance, a really specific example would be somebody who's struggling with alcoholism. Definitely we have to, whenever there's addictions, and for a number, I mean, for other topics too, but addictions in particular, let me give you a little background. So if you think of past lives or your soul as a giant globe, but with like diamond facets on it, right? So a ball, or a diamond with an infinite number of facets. And each of those facets represent a past life. So we've had infinite lifetimes. Okay, everybody has. When you hear a psychic say, well, you have 12 lives and this is your last one, get a new psychic. Move on. They don't know what they're talking about. So we have infinite numbers of past lives. And so here they are. This is what makes you up. Well, you're sitting on one facet, and that is your whole world. And so people who don't understand their other lifetimes, have not connected with them, are just really living in this one little facet. And imagine how you would feel if your fiance comes to you and says, will you marry me? And hands you a diamond with one facet. There'd be no luster, no light, no radiance to this diamond. And the same thing with us as souls. As we connect to these other facets, we're filling in those gaps, and we're collecting the energy, the wisdom, the knowledge, the experiences, and we're creating what we call more mass in our energetic field. So when you show up, there's just, more energy there, or more mass. You're less likely to be tossed around by the prevailing winds of, negativity or the news cycle or whatever, because you're just more solid. So there's all sorts of health benefits. But back to the idea of the addictions, when a person is addicted and they're dealing with it on one facet, they're, first of all, if you have a strong trait like that, like an addiction, that is either you started it in this lifetime and it is now filtering out through those other lifetimes because we affect them just as other lifetimes affect us. Or more likely, there's many other lifetimes nearby that are connected to this facet that also have addictions, because it's a deeper trait, right? That pull towards dealing with life stress in that way. So when a person comes to me with an addictive pattern, let's call it alcoholism, I always go to past lives first, because if we're trying to fight it on this facet, that person is always going to be pulled back into it. That's why they can go through programs and they can quit and then go back, right? Have that recurrence. So when we go into the other lifetimes, we actually do the healing there first and we resolve it. And then we come back and we deal with the present circumstances, and it's just easy to evaporate because nothing is pulling them. There isn't part of their subconscious or part of their soul energy that is being pulled back into addictions. So it's really powerful work on so many levels like that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
There are so many people who are struggling. What a great way. If you're open, and that's the thing, getting people to be open to trying something new to help them have a better life and have a better
Absolutely.
world, right?
Right. And greater self-knowledge. And you had asked, has this evolved? And so that type of work has, shown how the past lives have evolved from that sightseeing tour. But along the way, I've been studying with a spiritual teacher for, 35 years, probably at least since the mid 80s. I mean, I've been on that spiritual journey since the 60s, but studying and actually learning a lot more about incarnation and what happens when we die and what happens between lives and all of that. So yeah, my knowledge has evolved as well as my skills. Yeah. And that might be the difference too, because when you go to somebody, I know a lot of practitioners who do not believe in past lives, but they will do past life regression. And it's like, okay, it seems like a disconnect, right? They're just
counterproductive.
well, kind of like doing it for the money, right? I'll do it for you, but I don't believe it's really true. I don't know that. I just can't imagine.
I hope they don't say that. I hope they say,
Yeah, I think they're just
let's learn together or something.
right. Exactly. And when they see that happening with their clients, that should make them more of a believer and at least be open to exploring. What I find interesting, because I've been in this work for so long, I have, encountered people with every type of belief, from violent disagreement with it, right, to total enthusiasm. And my feeling is, if people have made a decision without any kind of research, then for me, their opinion is not valid, right? If you disagree and you think there's no past lives or reincarnation, come to me with some real research. Have you even tried it? Have you tried it and can disprove, although that's a hard one, because if they're trying to disprove it, then they won't have a very good session.
Right, though.
But, I would, if they're going to make a decision about reality, a lot of times people will say, I don't believe in past lives. And it's not a matter of belief. It's either true or it's not true. Right. And so then you have to just do the research. If there are millions of people that have had all these experiences, well, that's got to be valid for something. It's got to have some weight to it, right? So
But again, you have to be open to believe. You know, you could see it. You mentioned the news cycle, right? No one knows what to believe. Nobody, you know what I mean? So I think that, you know, if you let the outside world prejudice you, you have to try to do the research and be open. And with addiction, which is I have a friend who has a family member who has a struggle with addiction. And I always go back thinking that maybe they've tried the 12 steps and they've tried all kinds of things. Maybe this is the next thing to try. But again, you know, you're so battered after so many years of trying so many things, you're not necessarily open
Yeah.
to, but what do you have to lose? Try it,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, and if it
Exactly.
can make your life better or give you hope, right? It's a new hope. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
the interesting part is that I can work with people who don't believe. You know, I have people say to me, I don't believe in past lives, but I want you to do hypnotherapy with me. Right. Which, you know, for me, it's sort of like going to a surgeon and saying, well, I'm going to tie your left hand behind your back. Right.
But do your best.
I only want, yeah, yeah, do your
Right.
best. Um, and so for me, it's like, well, you're missing out on a really juicy part of what I can offer you. But sure, we can do it as just hypnotherapy, NLP. And then when we get into what could be past lives, we just say that it's a story, that it's a metaphor that their subconscious mind is making up. And I've had people who didn't believe, and we made up the story because it was healing. And then at the end, they changed their mind and they said, you know, I think I really did experience that in another lifetime. So, you know, again, just being able to be flexible in your opinions, I guess.
And yours too. What you did was such a great way to convince them. You know what I mean?
Right. We can just
That's
look at
great.
metaphor. Yeah. So because it is, it's hard, you know, a lot of clients, if the first few times you do a past life, it's often hard to believe whether that's really accurate or not. And you know, the past life might be true, but it may not be accurate. All right. And by that, it means, you know, they had that lifetime and, you know, yes, they were a man in the Middle Ages and, you know, the structure of that life was true, but maybe the way that they perceived the events are inaccurate. Just like when we look back,
Like,
if you,
right, exactly.
we
We
look,
can both watch the same show or the same situation.
right?
Police, right? When they go to a crime scene, they're trying to figure something out, and 20 people were standing there looking at the same person, and everybody has a different shirt and a different height and a different, yeah, it's all
It's
about perception. Life is all about perception.
exactly. So it might not be accurate, but we can still, even if we view it as a metaphor, it still is just filled with wisdom and good advice and resolution and healing. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Great. And
just,
sorry.
no, you go.
I liked how you said fear of missing out. In this day and age, so many people are consumed with their phones and um, looking at Facebook or Instagram and who's TikTok. I don't have a lot of these things, but you go down the rabbit hole. You know, you put on your phone and you're looking, and even if you don't compare yourself, you're watching all of these things, and I think that's a great way to convince someone to be open, because you're missing out on the full experience. That was a great way to say it. I think that would, you know, just like in anything else, whatever we're doing. I have grandchildren, and a lot of times when you're trying to help them through something, you have to come up with, in life, right? You have to come up with a new way to present it so that you can get them on board. And I
Right.
think that's a great way to do it in this day and age, the fear of missing out. You know,
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Absolutely. As a tiny example of what you were just saying, Mary Lee, about the possible misperception of a fact or something like that in a previous lifetime. I just finished one of Brian Weiss's books, and all of his books are about, you know, either past life or future life. And he had one client who had gone to a time that was very long ago, and she mentioned that there was a healing in what she was calling the tannis. She was saying TANNIS because she didn't know the word in this lifetime. She didn't know the word tannins in this lifetime. So she accidentally said the wrong word, but she repeated it too. You know, that was her understanding because it was coming through her filter of this lifetime into the, you know, and that's the kind of thing. Or you might, you know, name a person or name a time or something like that, and the two things don't link up, but still you are experiencing that.
Exactly.
And I think when people say they don't believe in it, a large part of what goes into that is fear.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
Because
Fear
it's like
and
ghosts. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You know,
Well, and that's one of the arguments. If you believe in ghosts, then it means that you believe that there's something beyond the physical world, right? And you know, it's funny if people say, well, I don't believe in reincarnation, but my grandma died and I think she's with me. She looks over me, she's my guardian angel or something like that. And it's like,
Right.
okay.
Right. You don't realize, right? Because you're
Right.
stopping yourself from getting the full experience.
Right. There's a
because of your
there. Yeah.
biases. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, so one is a wish and a hope. I hope grandma's still around, right? And she's guarding me and, you know, watching over me, but I'm not going to believe in reincarnation. A lot of it has to do with religion too. People will say, you know, I think I believe, but I'm afraid I'm going to go to hell, you know,
I'm
or
afraid. Exactly. There's that fear again, you know? Isn't that true with whatever? Again, addiction, losing weight. There's always something that's stopping someone. I mean, we all know exercise and diet, right? We know to eat right. We all know what to do.
yeah,
And we stop ourselves, we sabotage ourselves, we, you know.
it keeps me in business.
That's right. Well, thank you. It's
Yeah,
very
right.
interesting. Really is.
Yeah, but it's true. We all have that blocks. I mean, blocks
Yeah.
to our progress is a big part of what I help people with. And those blocks just have, you know, numerous faces, right? Um,
Mhm.
that and recently it's been a lot of stress, people that are just like over the edge with stress. And it's been interesting because in my practice, it's like people come in waves, like, you know, maybe the majority of the clients will be looking for weight loss and, you know, or past life spiritual development or purpose work. And right now the wave is stress. And it's really sad to see people that are just allowing themselves to be so overwhelmed. You know, a couple of those clients that I have, it's really debilitating. In one client, completely stopping her from any kind of happiness in her relationship, her work, and life, in you know, and then of course the weight gain starts and the depression and all of that comes out of it. In another client, she had created her life under all these stressful conditions based on feeling she needed to have duty or obligation to others ahead of herself. So she was always last. Well, it's come down to where physically she now has like multiple medical appointments every week and like really just severe things that are debilitating, but she's coming out of it. But the thing
Good.
is, you know, we can't, you know, I can't help particularly with the physical, but by helping the psychological and the spiritual and the emotional, then the physical responds. I have a really cool example. Can I give it? I know
Oh, yeah.
I want your
We'd
question,
love it.
but I just thought of something myself. I was teaching my class. We finished up the, you know, last fall around December, and we were talking about using hypnotherapy for surgery. So I was talking to my students about, you know, pre and post surgery hypnosis, and it's had some really good case studies. And then I said, well, I like to do demos in in my class so they can see me working, right? Here's how I would handle it. And I thought, well, this is kind of a random thing, but does anybody, either have a pre or post surgery, something I can work on? And one of the students had taken a fall probably 6 months ago, and then she was completely bruised down one side of her body. So she was carrying something heavy and fell, and it was really quite a mess. But after that, her middle finger here became a trigger finger. So it was like stuck in a position, like that, I guess. Anyway, so they did surgery on it, and it was okay for a while. And then about a month or two later, it came back again. The trigger finger just developed again, and she got a big, I can't remember which side, a big knot. I don't know which side it was. Now that I think about it, a big knot at the ball. I think it was like that, but a big knot, and then the trigger finger was stuck again. And so she raised her hand. She goes, well, I have this. I already had surgery, but they're talking to me now. The doctor said, well, there's nothing more we can do, but we could try surgery again. And she, was dreading that. And she said, so I have this, can we work on it? And I said, okay. And I really didn't think that, I thought, well, it's post-surgery, which it's better to do it before the surgery, right? And I said, well, I'll just do the best I can. And you hold hope, but you don't get your expectation on, too out of control. And so we did the session, and the finger, deeper subconscious part of her was afraid she would injure her hand again. So it had created that lump and that stiffness as a means of protection. So it doesn't have to make sense to us, but that's what it thought it needed to do to make her more cautious and to protect her hand should she ever fall again. So the way that I work, I don't use scripts. We work in dialogue. So the client, they're giving me answers.
Right.
I ask them questions, they give me answers. So I'm following their subconscious mind where it's going. So anyway, in the end, we were able to convince it that, that was not going to prevent her from falling again, and that she would be cautious, and, this was unnecessary. And then in the end, it agreed to stop doing this, right? And so I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I hope that works. On the off chance, I said, would you be willing to do that now? And it said, yes. And I said, okay, go ahead. And like within a minute, the ball was gone and her hand was like this.
Wow.
That's great.
And the whole demonstration took 25 minutes. And
did you do it in front of the class?
The whole class.
Wow.
And they were all texting me.
You're so brave.
That was a miracle. It's like,
that's great. You see how powerful you are, and she is.
Her kid. Well, and she's a really good client too. I mean, she goes under really quick and she's easy to work with, but it actually like physiologically completely changed. And it was a 25-minute demonstration. And she still attends class. So we're on the next round for January. And so I've been seeing her. So it's been, a full 2 months, a little over 2 months. And she said nothing. There's
awesome.
Nothing came back so far. I mean, it could, but
Right.
I don't think it will. And she knows she can come back,
That's it. You banished that bad thought. See that? Or that protective thought. Not that it was bad, but it was protective.
It was misinformed. It thought it was
that's all.
good, but it just wasn't the right tactic. Yeah.
And now she knows how powerful she is. She knows that she can probably accomplish anything she wants to accomplish with the power of her mind.
Exactly.
Can't we all?
We all can. Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing.
That's
It
great.
really is.
Mary Lee, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can go to my website, which is maryleelabay.com. Sorry, MaryLeelabay. Oh, I guess it's right on the screen here. maryleelabay.com. They can also, there's different URLs, but they could also text me at 425-386-3888. They could text me there and just say, hey, I want to get in touch. I want to talk with you. And I know you're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. I work with people all over the world, Europe, South America, Mexico, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Australia,
Nice.
Canada.
And don't you wish you got to travel to those places to talk to them?
Well, I've been to over 75 countries, and many of them many times. I'm
great.
traveled, and now I'm really happy staying home. And
Right.
over Zoom, it's really been a blessing because people don't have to come here to work with me.
Right.
Although I just had a client about 3 weeks ago fly in from North Carolina and stay 5 days, and we worked every single day together. She just wanted to take care of some more delicate issues, and she said, I just want to be in the room with you. I don't want to do it over Zoom, so I can feel more protected. So she flew in, stayed in an adorable Airbnb, and we did our work. So that can happen,
Great.
but luckily we have Zoom, and I can work with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some clients who just prefer to do it in person. I've had that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right then. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks.
today, Mary Lee LaBay. And do you have any final thoughts on making the world a better place?
Keep your thoughts positive, and stay motivated for, set a goal and keep that 100% of your energy moving towards that really positive goal, and just let all the other stuff roll off your
Let
back.
it go.
Just stay focused on that and stay positive. And then if that doesn't work, call me.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you
You
so
So
got it.
much.
interesting.
It's been great being here with you today. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
long for now.
Okay, bye-bye.